Hey, Spider Nation, welcome back to another episode of Spider-Man's Tangled WebShow. I'm Jonathan, webmaster of SpiderManFanRave.com, SpiderManFanRave.com. Pretty basic URL. Go on over there. We got plenty of Spider-Man stuff for y'all to read, watch, view, whatever you want to do. We got plenty of embedded videos from other things. We got plenty of pictures from comic books. We got plenty of scans from comic books, actually. We do not pretend to own any of that. We all give credit to wherever the images and videos come from. So, yeah, go on over there, SpiderManFanRave.com. Have a lot of fun over there. Tonight we're being joined by James. What's going on, James?
Pretty good. I've been having a good week. Started school, but it actually is not bad. You know, I love culinary school. Not much homework besides doing costing. For people who don't know what costing is, pretty much my grades are going to be doing math to figure out if what you made money or if you wasted all your money on shit you didn't need. So that's
basically,
pretty much,
if you profit.
Yeah. Like, if you order 20 ounces of steak for this much, you got to figure out how much you spent and how much of it was a waste, and you're going out of business. That's about it. If that's all my homework and they gave us this trusty calculator just for fitting up those numbers, I'm going to be in good. I just got to say that right now. So I'm enjoying that, going to school. But I also found out that you now have to address me as yes chef, no chef. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. But besides that, school's going good. But I've been kind of busy, between school and that stuff, getting everything straightened out there. But I did find time, of course, to put the article up on the page, and John told me that blew it up. So anybody who read the latest GMS article, thanks. Because literally I had to sit down and force myself to go through that. Because that issue is depressing. I think it's good, but it's still a depressing issue. So I had to steamroll through it somehow to get it up.
It's a depressing topic. I mean, it's a depressing topic. I mean, it'd be hard to make it even slightly upbeat.
Well, obviously. I mean, it's 9/11. It's not like you're talking about the night Gwen Stacy died and it was hard for me to get through. We're talking about a real life tragedy. So I had to you hear all those stories about how JMS and I think I bring up an article, both JMS and John Romita Jr., it was hard for them to do that issue because they were breaking down and crying. And I can understand that because here we are 15 years later, and that was me writing the article for it.
Yeah, it's an awful tragedy. 9/11 it's something I wouldn't joke about even if I knew how. I mean, I don't know how you could joke about it. I honestly got to say, that's the only issue of Amazing Spider-Man where there's no quip by him. There's not one joke. I can't even remember even the darkest of Back in Black not having a joke or a funny page in there. That says something. All our thoughts and everything go out to everybody who lost anyone on that day, who knows people who lost someone on that day. It's not a pleasant experience to remember, and it wasn't something that was pleasant to go through. What have I been up to this week? Just continuing school once again. I do have an unfortunate story to tell. Evidently, dogs don't like trumpets because I'll tell this story. Today, I had most of the apartment to myself, and I guess I've not played my trumpet around our new dog because we've only had this new dog for about 2 months. I guess I haven't played my trumpet around her because I play in here all the time, and this is my bedroom. But I went outside of here and played in the common area today because I had the apartment to myself. She was not happy about it. She did not like the trumpet sound. So if you're a trumpet player like me, just find out whether or not your dog appreciates the sound or not before you start playing loudly for long periods of time. I felt so bad. She was just
God, I could have told you that. I mean, when you got a dog like me that gets, like a lot of dogs that are afraid of thunder, and you got a drum set, it's kind of hard for the last 4 years for me to play the drums. Let me just say that.
No, my old dog was really not afraid of my trumpet. He'd just be like, you shut up. I'm trying to sleep here. But yeah, he's my old dog was not afraid of the trumpet, but this one, yeah, she does not like it. So I apologize, Dolly. I'll give you a shout out right now. Sorry. I felt so bad. But
sorry.
Yeah, I felt so bad. But that's probably the most interesting story I have this week. Shout out to my cousin who got married today. That's fun. I didn't go to the wedding because she's about 1,000 miles away from me, and I really couldn't get there. So, other than that, yeah, pretty just standard week. Going to school, taking classes, practicing my butt off, all that good stuff. What are we going to talk about today? Well, there really is only one topic to talk about today, and that is Amazing Spider-Man: Renew Your Vows #5. I apologize that I've not gotten a lamp or something that will improve my lighting scenario for this, so you really couldn't see that. But maybe I'll get off my butt and slap down some money for one someday. But we got Amazing Spider-Man: Renew Your Vows #5 here, the final issue of Renew Your Vows, the final issue of this little Secret Wars tie-in. Which, by the way, does anyone know when Secret Wars is actually supposed to end now? Because I've been told that it's actually going through December.
I think it's October, if you ask me.
Like, I looked at the release schedule for #6, and apparently it's not due to come out for another week or two, and then #7 doesn't come out until like the end of October. I have no idea anymore.
It's worse than Civil War. It's already worse than Civil War. Because you got other miniseries tie-ins ending 2 months before the main book, and they were supposed to be like the same number of issues.
I have literally no idea what's happening anymore. It's just, man, I've been following and I've been enjoying the main Secret Wars book, but can we please get it out in a reasonable amount of time? Like, I don't mean to be one of those like prickish fans, but can we please get a little bit of a handle on this release schedule? All right.
Can I take a moment right now to talk directly to Marvel? Because I'm sure there's Marvel people probably watching this. Marvel, stop it. Just stop doing these big crossover events that are going to change the universe, because you guys failed when it came to Civil War with delays, and now you failed here with delays. You guys kind of had it working for you with Secret Invasion, because I don't think there was a really delay. If there was, maybe it was like a week. So it wasn't anything major, but you guys dropped the ball here again when it was the big, going to change the universe, and now it's kind of going out with a dud.
It's not really.
Next time you do this, make sure the artist has been starting to draw the arc 3 years in advance so he can get it done with in time. Thank you. Bye.
In Marvel's defense, they've not necessarily creatively failed. They're just not pushing the books out in an orderly manner.
Failed as in the story sucks. I mean, they failed with it taking forever for this to come out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that delays have happened, but with ASM Renew Your Vows #5, we got a creative team: writer Dan Slott, art by Adam Kubert and Scott Hanna, colorist Justin Ponser, letterer VC's Joe Caramagna, cover artists Adam Kubert and Jim Campbell, assistant editor Devin Lewis, editor Nick Lowe. Basic summary of the issue: the Avengers managed to infiltrate Regent's stronghold. Meanwhile, Peter Parker, his life is slowly ebbing away, but Mary Jane and Annie managed to find some of Regent's men who are kind of tracking his power levels, trying to make sure that his power is not fading too quickly and remaining pretty stable. Annie manages to handle them pretty easily, and they get answers out of those men as to exactly how Regent's powers work. So Annie starts to attack the tubes, like the little glass cases that the heroes are kept in. And when she destroys those cases, Regent actually loses access to their powers. So she starts doing that. Meanwhile, MJ suits up in in one of Regent's men's suits. And it's actually quite a nice moment, because while this is happening, Annie says, "You've got to stop calling me Annie when we're on a mission. How about Amp?" And MJ says, "Really? We're going to talk code names now?" And she says, "You should have a code name too. I've already got one. Mom." I thought that was a nice little moment there. But Regent can sense that they're messing with his powers, and so he confronts MJ and Annie. Peter realizes this as his life is slowly, he's not doing too well, but he hears that they're in trouble, and he manages to, his adrenaline kicks in, and he breaks out of the glass case and takes Regent head on, knocks him out a window and down right onto the street. They do battle. Regent and Peter both get some pretty good licks in. Ultimately, Regent gets the upper hand, but Annie manages to drop down and save Peter and lodge an inhibitor chip into Regent's armor by using one of Hawkeye's arrows. And so Regent's suit and powers are basically gone, And so Mary Jane drops down, and all three Parkers decide to take Regent on. And they do a pretty good job of it until Regent gets Annie by the neck. But Peter manages to get him to release his hold and knock him out by telling a joke. How does Spider-Man pay his kids' allowance? In spider sense. Get it? See what I did there? So Peter manages to knock Regent out.
As funny as you said it as it was in the comic.
Yep. So Peter manages to save Annie, and he says, I can do this. I can keep you safe without compromise. In this moment, I renew my greatest vow. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So Regent's taken away by the Avengers, and Peter, MJ, and Annie basically all go home, and they discuss, wow, Regent was going to try to take us all out so we could fight Doom. That's insane. Haha, yeah, what an idiot. And so the issue ends with, MJ and Peter reminding Annie of her manners, and Peter monologuing in his head, in a perfect world, you get a happily ever after. Not us. Every chapter of our lives ends with a big old to be continued, because our story keeps going on, and we wouldn't have it any other way. And that concludes Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. I will give my basic thoughts on this issue just to start off. I like this issue quite a bit, honestly. I thought it was a solid conclusion. I thought it was a good wrap-up to this little story arc here. A lot of it is a fight scene, but again, a lot of it's made by the family dynamic between Peter, MJ, and Annie. I really did like the fact that all three of them worked together to take down Regent, while at the same time, Peter was always shown to be the most experienced and probably the best of the three when it comes to doing the heroic stuff. Definitely, as I wrote up in my review on the website, this book is really not about Spider-Man. It's not about MJ. It's not about Annie. It's about the Parker family and them working together and them interacting with each other. So I thought it was a pretty fitting and pretty solid ending for them to all take down Regent as a team and as a family. So I like that quite a bit. The art by Adam Kubert is also pretty good. Pretty much he's done a fantastic job. He and his team, they've done such a good job throughout this entire arc that I got to give my props to them. It's just a gorgeous book to look at all the way through. Some nice little moments in here. I liked Peter breaking out of the case because of his desire to save his family. Once again, great little moment as to the family dynamic. And as I pointed out in the recap, I like MJ giving her, saying her code name is Mom. I thought that was a nice little moment. I do think that this issue had a little bit of clunky dialogue, though. It wasn't always the best. I gave an example. On the very first page, Hawkeye addresses the Regent and says, "We're doing more than that, murderer. We're putting an end to your reign, Regent, here and now." It's just like what I always say. It doesn't really feel like naturalistic dialogue. It doesn't feel like something that a normal person would say in conversation. So that kind of bothers me a bit. But overall, I liked a lot of this issue. And really, the clunky dialogue in spots is the only complaint I really have with it. I give it a solid thumbs up. I think it's a pretty solid. Ending. I was glad to see that the Parkers. I actually felt that an ending scene with the Parkers just having breakfast and talking as a family was a great way to bookend this little limited series here. Just gets to the heart of the story. Gets to the heart of each of the characters, and I just felt that was a really nice touch to end the series off with. So thumbs up from me. I definitely enjoyed this issue. So James, what did you think of Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows number 5?
I think it's kind of a dud and a letdown, but nothing, too bad. I got some problems with it. One of them being Regent. After being the god power, destroys everybody. I think he got taken down way too easily, or easily, I should say, more. It's hard to say. The MJ moments with the kid were really sweet. But my problem comes with the ending, but this is because of behind the scenes stuff. But the whole, Annie, our story never ends. It's always a to be continued. Well, obviously it's not. You guys aren't even getting a title post Secret Wars. I mean, for all we know, he said that, and then Doom's like, I gotta destroy some universes in my battle against you, Richards, in the next Secret War. And then all of a sudden, you see the Renew Your Vows universe go boom, like seconds later, for all we know. I'm not saying that's going to happen, John, or that's a negative. It's something that I think is going to happen. I'm just saying that's a joke. Like, for all we know, it could go boom tomorrow in the universe, the one we got. Yeah, so we got that. My other kind of complaint is the title drop. Marvel been promoting this. The images of Peter and MJ with the kid. Every variant cover being Peter and MJ snuggled up together, or him handing her flowers, or a recreation of Annual 21 with Stan Lee marrying them too, and all this stuff. It's the variant covers, and it's called Renew Your Vows, Renew Your Vows, Renew Your Vows. And what's it about? A vow that Peter very rarely broke to begin with, and it was justified in the first issue why he broke it, so there's no reason that it should end it with, I'm reviewing my greatest vow. No, not being a husband. No, not being a father. No, my no-kill rule. It just felt like, really, your story was all along about how Peter shouldn't kill. Something that everybody already knew. So that's my kind. And it kind of, my other problem I've seen a lot. I'm not going to go too far with the conspiracy theories about this, but some people said Mary Jane was really underplayed here, and I do think she was. Like, they really dropped the ball, I think, a little bit with MJ in the story, where she was just like the mom and the wife, but there wasn't really much for her to do besides for this final issue where she helped out and fight. So I see that a little bit, but I don't think it was too bad. I think they justified it here, but you know, it's not single MJ or MJ married to just Peter. This is a MJ who's also a mother. She has to think about a kid to take care of, so she's not going to be too much, you know, forward, I think, about stuff. So I think that was a plus. Yeah, it sucks that Marvel said Comic-Con said before you ask for an ongoing, you should read the final issue. And it had a happy ending for the family where Peter goes, it's a to be to continue, not an ending, Annie. And it's like, well, then why not just give this an ongoing? You would not piss nobody off. You would have your perfect world. You could have your Peter, you know, jet-setting billionaire in the main continuity, while MJ may or may not be dating Tony Stark. Where here, and then on the other side, fans won't be that too angry about it, because then they would have an ongoing with Peter and MJ married. They have a kid. It's that progression that everything was building up in the old continuity. You could literally have had your cake and eat it too and made money off of it. But I guess that it didn't matter to them, I guess. So I would say it's a little bit of a letdown. So I'll give it, like I said, it's not exactly a middle. It's not exactly a thumbs up. It's somewhere in the middle of the two.
Is it like a thumb 45 degrees?
Yeah, I would say that. Let's go with that.
All right. I do have one question that about something you brought up, and you said that the whole Renew Your Vows thing. You said that you thought it was kind of a little bit of a bad thing with the title, that you thought maybe it was not so much about the marriage, but it was about Peter renewing his vow not to kill.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that, because when he says, I'm renewing my greatest vow, it's like, because I saw, it's kind of funny, because when I finished reading this issue, I was like, oh, that's it? I mean, Peter and MJ, besides for the first issue, didn't really have any real husband and wife moments other than them being talking about parent stuff. So it's like, oh, you didn't really even have a moment of them really having a moment alone together. Man, they could have done this issue without them being married. Oh, my God. And what has Marvel been saying this whole time? Well, you can do the married issues without them being married. Like that was like the way I felt. I'm like, I get that reading. I'm like, oh, that was it. And the greatest vow, it wasn't even his vow to his wife or his child. It was the vow he made about Uncle Ben's death years ago. Okay. I like literally my exact words were, oh, you could have told the story without them being, oh my God.
See, I think I just want to bring up a counterpoint to that. I actually kind of thought that was, I think, yes, they were trying to go for, like, yes, that could be title. It was meant to be more of a, that while it's also supposed to be a play on the concept of renewing his vows with Mary Jane, you know, this is the first time that they've been married in anything, well, except for MC2 Spider-Girl, but this is the first time they've really been married in a main book since One More Day. So they're kind of renewing the vows there, but also it's renewing his greatest vow. And I want to point out as well, because I didn't read it that he was renewing his his vow. I read it that he was renewing his vow to always be Spider-Man and always to protect people. That was how I read it. Like, maybe
Well, it's when the part when Regent says, "Are you going to kill me?" or something like that. It's when he says it.
No, what let me look at the actual page. It's right. It's right after he takes he region out. I can do this. I can compromise. What I read into that was that he was. Because you're not the only person who's ever said that. Who I've ever heard say that.
Well,
So,
still, my point. It doesn't matter if it's the kill rule or it's just him being Spider-Man. If it's a married with a child Peter Parker, there's no way in hell he's putting his vows to his wife or his kid second place to power and responsibility or no one dies. There's no way. His greatest vow is to his family, not to no kill or power and responsibility.
I'm not really sure that that's the way they were. I think I'd above family.
Hello, am I back?
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said? Because I literally froze up right when I was in the middle of what I was saying.
No, sir. We apologize, listeners. We apologize. That was just a little brief technical difficulty. James, why don't you repeat what you said?
My point is, I don't think it. My point that I'm mad about, and I think other people are mad about too, is that he goes renewing my greatest vow, which again kind of demeans MJ and Annie, because it's like his greatest vow wasn't to his daughter, it wasn't to his MJ, and when they got married, his greatest vow is either A, depending on which way you look at it, power and responsibility, or no one dies. There's no way that that's the greatest vow he ever made over, you know, marrying the love of his life or having his child. There is no way.
I don't know. I mean, I think that is also kind of. I think the greatest vow thing is also kind of contradicted by the original title page with Peter going through all those moments in his head, like having his life flash before his eyes. And he says, you know, I don't even think of any of my Spider-Man fights. I don't even think of getting bitten by the spider. It's just all the moments with my family and all my loved ones. So I feel like they weren't really trying to say that with that line.
That freeze up again because it got really quiet.
No, maybe I froze up again. I don't know.
No, I heard you. I heard you. It just got really quiet after what you said. Like,
no, I was just done. Oh no, I was just done talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just that line kind of irked me. I know it irked other people because it's like, it's the fact that he could still love his family a lot. And I'm not saying he doesn't love his family. It's just his greatest vow not being, you know, to MJ or his daughter. It's to Uncle Ben, basically. And it's like, oh, come on, Marvel. You don't got to tie this into power and responsibility or that no one dies. This is supposed to be, you know, Dan Slott getting Peter and MJ as a couple out of his system, you know, was what he promoted it as, saying, hey, can I do Peter and MJ marriage because I can't do it in the 616? Sure, go ahead. Why not? Like, literally, that's what he said it was.
All right. I think it's just something you and I'll have to agree to disagree on because Clearly, we're not making any traction with that right here. But yeah, at this point, there's an echo in the background.
I think it's because my computer's been slow all day. I apologize to people.
Oh, okay, but basically, that's pretty much all we have to talk about with this issue. We're going to move into more general topics with Renew Your Vows. That echo is still there. We do just want to do a little bit of a retrospective on the entire series now that it is over and it's only a 5-issue mini. We can kind of give our general thoughts on it, and because it is such a departure from what has been seen in the normal Amazing Spider-Man books for the past several years, we do kind of want to give our general thoughts on it. And I have a few questions that I want to bring up, and I think the first one really is one that's not original at all, but I've seen it on several message boards, is that take on, do we like more? Do we enjoy this version of Spider-Man with, married with a kid, or do the single swinging bat has been kind of portrayed in the last few years, except for the Superior issues. Do we enjoy that take on Spider-Man, or do we enjoy the take general established here, which is Spider-Man, married with James, that's you. Did I lose him again? Yeah, he froze up again. All right. Well, thoughts on the topic, because I'll give my general thoughts on whether or not I prefer this Spider-Man or the original, or not the original, but the quote unquote mainstream 616 Spider-Man that we've gotten for the past few years. I think there are pros and cons to both, definitely. I think as a whole, I like this take a little bit more. I do enjoy the mature Spider-Man. I do enjoy the family aspect of Spider-Man. I like seeing him with Mary Jane. Hey, James, you're back. I do enjoy seeing him with Mary Jane. I like the family dynamic. I wouldn't want to see Peter and Annie become Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider Kid. I wouldn't really want to see it, but I do enjoy the idea that I enjoy that. Plus, I'm just a Peter and MJ shipper, so that's good. I also just like the tonality of this series. I think that having Peter be a bit more grown up, be a bit more mature, have all these responsibilities with a family, I think it is a solid direction to take Peter, and I think that it does provide it provides new layers of interesting conflict for him that I think we haven't seen really in the mainstream Spider books really, we haven't seen this level of conflict really ever. So I think it's a good idea. I do think there are things you can do with single Spider-Man that you would be harder to do with married Spider-Man, or not necessarily married Spider-Man, but family father Spider-Man. I think there are some directions that you can take the character with that you can't do with family Spider-Man. But there are also directions you can take family Spider-Man that you can't take single Spider-Man. So it's an interesting concept. I think in terms of what I prefer, I like the Renew Your Vows premise a little bit more. I'm not necessarily opposed to either. There are parts of each that I like. There are parts of each that I dislike. But really, I got to go with Renew Your Vows. I think it's an idea for a character that I can get behind more so than I can the current mainstream books. That's not to bash the current mainstream books. Overall, I just enjoyed Renew Your Vows more as a premise. So, James, what are you thinking? Post OMD Spider-Man versus Renew Your Vows Spider-Man. Which one do you prefer more?
Do I even have to say, John? Really, knowing me? Yeah, it's for the people who maybe their first episode. Yes, I prefer this one better. And I'll say this right now: it has zero to do with the marriage. It has to do with the way characters are written. This Peter and MJ are written competently. Are written like actually what normal freaking human beings and not horn dogs would do, or idiots. You can't say the same thing with Post One More Day. I'm sorry. Peter, Post One More Day would, okay, let's see this. This Peter did everything he could to protect his child. Post One More Day, he walked out of an unemployment office because he felt sad for the rhino dying. Meaning he couldn't pay his rent, couldn't pay his bill, couldn't buy a bite to eat. What a loser Peter Parker was because he walked out of the unemployment office because he was sad for the rhino. Protects his family. I mean, which one do you think is more realistic there?
Yeah, it was. I don't even remember that story.
It's the rhino. Oh no, it wasn't Rhino who died. It was Rhino's girlfriend who died. And he's like walking. The last page is like he's in the unemployment office, and the lady's like, "Can I help you?" And he's like all depressed because she's dead, and he's like, "No, you can't." And he walks out, and that's the end of the story. And like 2 episodes later, he's like, "Man, I can't make no money because I'm not on unemployment. Stupid me." And it's like, yeah, stupid you. Like somebody who wrote in, "Come on, guys, Peter should have some money. He should at least get some money coming from unemployment." And they go, "No, because he feels guilty about it." What? And so it's like you got, well, I would say, more irresponsible Peter Parker and a more responsible Peter Parker. This is the way he should have been written. I'm sorry. Marvel's answers to felt like fanfics, you know, like, oh, if I was a writer of Spider-Man, this is how I would write him as single with all his crazy, sexy shenanigans and how much of a loser he is. Because that's what I thought the book was all about. Because he has problems. Peter Parker isn't some rich guy. He isn't Bruce Wayne. He has problems. He has hard times. He has troubles. He has the Parker luck. But they went overboard, I think, with trying to connect to the modern day, what they think a modern day 20-year-old is. What a modern day 25-year-old was. And I can tell you right now, as a 25-year-old, there's shit that Peter did what I would never do. And a lot of the stuff I would never do is because the Peter pre-One More Day taught me you don't do that shit.
So you wouldn't get in a milk bath with the black cat?
Okay, let's not go too far. I am still a 25-year-old guy. No, because then she's going to get all clingy with me, and then I'm going to get married to a hot redhead, and she's going to threaten her by dating Flash Thompson, and then everything's going to be cool after that, and then I'm going to get my mind wiped by a supervillain, and then he's going to punch her in the face, and then she's going to come after and try to kill me and my whole family because she became an out-of-character bitch. So, God, I don't want to deal with that problem. It's just like, it's kind of like how I felt also a few years ago when they did the Clone Saga. Like when they did like how the Clone Saga should have been written by the people who did it in the 90s, and it ended really well with a Peter and MJ married, and Marvel clung on to, well, it was low selling because it was a Clone Saga tie-in. That's why we're not going to do an ongoing with these characters. They wanted to do an ongoing with this universe, but we couldn't really justify it because slow sales. And this is what it kind of feels like. Again, it's kind of like this is a Peter Parker that fans love. This is the kind of version he enjoy. I like this Peter. I like this MJ. I thought Annie was a great kid. You know, it's kind of cool. She's like, she is a mixture. She's Peter and MJ put together personality-wise, and I love that. It just felt like really good, and it's like it sucks because it's like you got this. What was it, like 3-4 months where you got, you know, the Spider-Man you always wanted again, kind of the one that Marvel pointed to in all the build-up, saying if you're a Spider-Man fan, this is your book, and it's like enjoy Iron Bat. You know, and that's what we gotta live for now, and it sucks. I gotta say that part I don't enjoy.
Now, another question I do want to ask here is that a lot of people have been speculating, because Dan Slott at one point said, you know, there are some elements of Renew Your Vows that are going to be carrying over into the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4 and onwards. And so my question to you, James, is what elements do you think of Renew Your Vows will even carry over into the main Marvel universe? Because from what we've seen so far, it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of them.
If I had to take a guess, like somebody, I forgot who this was somebody, I want to say it was on CBR, said, well, Regent owned a company called like Empire Incorporated or something like that. Peter's going to be with Parker Industries. Watch Regent and his secret identity and his company being a rival to Parker Industries. Like, that's what I think. Even though if I was a Spider-Man writer and you have Peter running his own super scientist company, you think his automatic go-to rival company would be Oscorp. But I guess they're not going to do that, so it's going to be, if I had to guess, it'd be Regent and his company. Even though if I was writing this version of Peter Parker, it would be Oscorp hands down. But if you're not touching Oscorp for whatever reason, it's going to be this place.
Well, they have said they're going to bring Norman and Harry Osborn back in unexpected ways. So,
well, that's another great way you can do it. Like, what if at the end of all this story arc, and when Slott finally leaves the book and whatever, they have like Oscorp buy out Parker Industries? Because that would be another little blow by Norman. I got your company.
Yeah, let's see. Let's add that to Norman's hit list. Slept with his girlfriend.
Killed his girlfriend.
Threw his girlfriend off the bridge.
Saga.
Stole his child.
Caused the death of his child.
Can we just say that Norman Osborn's kind of a dick?
Like I said back in Iron Man, it was revealed that according to Norman, the whole him becoming the guy behind the initiative now and Hammer was to get Spider-Man. Even though Bendis didn't really touch that.
Started the whole Goblin Nation thing, took over this. Can we just establish that Norman Osborn's not a nice guy? Yeah, that was...
John, don't forget the greatest plan here against Peter Parker. He took him to Hollywood to go hit him over the head with a rock.
Man, classic.
Shout out if you can go on iTunes and find Spider-Man Classic. Go download their episode where they talk about Amazing Spider-Man 14. Norman Osborn, the mastermind of the Clone Saga, the death of Gwen Stacy, Sins Past, Spider Nation, Goblin Nation, coming back from the dead, the fucking Hammer and the Dark Reign shit, all that stuff. His first master plan was to take Spider-Man to Hollywood and hit him over the head with a rock.
Oh, we love you, Stan Lee. Oh man, that was the classic. That was classic stuff that you got out of the Silver Age. So, what? Any other elements of Renew Your Vows that you think are going to carry over?
I just gotta say, it's just Regent.
I think that
I get touched because obviously they're not going to kill off all the Avengers. That's one thing. MJ, they're going to have her off with Bendis in Iron Man land, and we'll touch about that later. We're gonna have so that's not obviously them in a relationship or having a child isn't going to get touched, and that's about it. Like, there's nothing else I can think about. Him killing him and bringing Brock getting the symbiote, but that's not going to happen because Venom has his own title. Again, far away from Spider-Man. So it's like, I can't see besides maybe Regent showing up as a villain in 616. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I think that it's probably going to be that Regent is going to show up because I really don't see how this universe really can even slightly relate or connect with the 616.
Well, not even 616, the new Mew or whatever they're calling it.
Oh yeah, the new Marvel universe that they're promoting it as. I don't like from what we've seen of it so far, and again, this is all speculation because we've not read the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man yet. But actually, we have 3 times, but we've not read the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4 yet.
I like that. I like that you had to clarify. We haven't read the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man yet. Okay, we already have 3 times, but
we haven't read the first issue of Volume 4 yet. What was I even going to say? Oh, yeah, we have not read Volume 4 yet, so we don't know for sure what's happening. But to me, it doesn't seem like a lot of this stuff can fit with this new Marvel Universe, quote-unquote new Marvel Universe. It doesn't seem like it can fit, besides maybe Regent and Empire Unlimited being, coming into it. I don't really see how it's like Mary Jane's going to be off with Robert Downey Jr., and Annie, as far as we know, doesn't exist. Now, to be honest, I think it
exists. She can't, though, because there's no... Okay, if they're not going to have Peter and MJ to marry together with a child, there's no way they're going to have her off with Tony Stark in Stark Tower and Peter off in Parker Industry Tower, being these young 20-year-olds, doing whatever the hell they want, while they're absentee parents to some child out there of theirs. There's no way Marvel would do that. Yeah,
so I don't think Annie's going to show up. And obviously the Avengers are still going to be alive. All the heroes are still going to be alive. So I'm not seeing really how this can connect at all to this new Marvel Universe. I put new Marvel Universe in parentheses or in quotation marks, excuse me. Yeah, it's just aside from Regent, I don't see what else can carry over. It's it doesn't seem like the two universes can really meld together very well.
And think about it, for all we know, that could have been a marketing play. Like, because they know that the fans were immediately going to go to them at least dating. So I think that's what it could have been, also a marketing play. So if we're going to be, tying in Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and that's all. Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because that is something that I want to touch on. Isn't it supposed to be that Peter Parker is going to be in love triangles, in various sorts of love triangles throughout Volume 4? Didn't Marvel come out and say that?
Yeah, Slott said that, and the Alex Rox cover basically confirms that.
Yeah, because he's got
he has two girls on his shoulder, and they're kind of looking catty with each other in the corner there.
Yeah, so he's got basically billionaire playboy stuff going on.
And he has that smirk like, I'm Tony Stark. And then Tony's in bed with MJ like, I'm you.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. We'll touch on the MJ Stark thing in a little bit, but
I just find it funny that I'll say this right now. I'm just gonna say this right now to get it out of my system before going on. I find it funny that Marvel's trying to promote Tony Stark as the new Peter Parker with the flagship character and everything, and then it's like they're going like completely overboard with both characters. Like, what makes Peter Spider-Man? Give it to Tony. What makes Tony Tony? Give it to Peter.
But I think unless James has any other thoughts, I want to just give our final general wrap up to Renew Your Vows. Just give our final thank yous, give our final thoughts on the entire series as a whole. Again, we got 5 issues here. I'll try to hold all 5 issues up to the camera so you can see it. We got 5 issues of the series, all written by Dan Slott, all with art by Adam Kubert and such. So I think we'll just give our general final thoughts on Renew Your Vows, and I'll give James the floor for this.
Yeah. I'll just say this right now because you just reminded me again that Dan Slott wrote this ongoing. The best Peter Parker that Dan Slott has ever written, the best Mary Jane Dan Slott has ever written, the best that Spider-Man, in my opinion, has been written since One More Day. Marvel might say that the rings don't matter and that they're doing all these new exciting things post this. The best Spider-Man story they wrote since One More Day is a marriage plot. Dan Slott, and all the problems I have with his writing with Peter, somehow I had no really big... There's some Dan Slott moments. Like, I called them out, in our reviews of this book. There's some Dan Slott moments in here. But for the most part, he wrote, in my eyes, a perfect Peter and perfect MJ and a good Spider-Man story. There's got to be a connection there, Marvel. Think about it. The one thing that he said why he did the story was to get Peter and MJ out of his system because he couldn't get them together as a couple post-Spider Island when he was starting to ship them together. Think about that. So if I had to give a final grade to the story, like I said, it's great Peter, great MJ, great character, great art. And there's some moments where the story didn't really feel right with me, but for the most part, it felt good. Thumbs up.
All right. I'll give my final thoughts on Renew Your Vows. I really enjoyed it. I really. There's an echo again. Oh, now it's gone. But I really did enjoy the series. I thought it was a solid limited series. I thought it was a solid. I'd hardly call it a solid tie-in to Secret Wars.
It was a one-off line.
Yeah, I'd hardly call it a solid tie-in to Secret Wars.
But if I could tie it into Tokusatsu for a minute, there was a one-off joke in one episode of Kamen Rider Gaim where they named the character Gridon because it's a play on the Japanese word for acorn. Well, the American translator for the fan sub, for some reason, decided to change the whole Kamen Rider's name to Ornak because it was kind of like an hologram of changing the letters around an acorn. And it looked dumb and stupid, and the joke was never brought up again about his name being a play on acorn.
Yeah, it's just they're really apart from the whole I'm going to take Peter's powers to fight Doom. Yeah, you wouldn't even know this was a Secret Wars tie-in, but
and you don't even know the Secret War tie-in with that because he didn't say Almighty Doom who's controlling all the universes. He just said, "I want to go take Doctor Doom." For all you know, he meant the Doctor Doom of that universe.
Well, he did say that he wanted to fight Doom, who's like the overarching power above all of them. So, yeah, I did enjoy the series. I enjoyed the characterization of Peter, of Mary Jane. I liked Annie a lot. I thought she was a very likable character. The artwork was solid throughout. I know some people didn't like Regent. I found him to be kind of a fun villain. I like the premise overall. I thought it was a solid story. Once again, I got to give props to Adam Kubert because Adam Kubert and his whole team, because man, this series was just gorgeous to look at. I was actually rereading. I actually reread through the whole thing today because in just preparation for this discussion, and I got to say, I actually kind of find it disappointing that they didn't get a chance to draw a regular red and blue Spidey, as opposed to black suit Spidey, because man, red and blue Spidey looked great in the first issue, so that's kind of a letdown. But overall, I enjoyed this limited series. I don't think it's a question for you, James. I would pick up an ongoing for this. I would. Marvel, if you want to do a Renew Your Vows universe ongoing for this series, I would buy it. I enjoy this premise. I agree
with you 100%, John. I mean, it just boggles my mind. You think you would make money off this? You would have literally your cake and eat it too. You would have the audience that prefers the single swinging Spider-Man in the main Amazing book, and then you could have the responsible Spider-Man, or whatever you would dub that book, and then you would have your Peter married with a kid, and you would have that for the fans of the marriage. And then you can have for your fans of Miles Morales and the young teenage adventures, you'll have Adjective List. You would have had a three-way, of sales of everybody had their niche for their Spider-Man. And then people probably would then because they're less mad about what's going on in the main titles because they got an ongoing marriage book, more people would jump onto the single main universe one. You can make money, but because this is my personal opinion, and I'm not saying this to John or anybody else's, I think they're scared. I think, especially after issue 1 was the highest selling book, of Secret Wars so far, I think.
I think the main title is still outselling it, but I do want to bring this up a little bit because this news just came out yesterday. Issues 3 and 4 were both in the top 10 comic sales for August.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Universe has consistently been at the top of the charts.
I think the sales scare them because their whole beef is that marriage didn't matter, and look how much the sales went up as soon as he was single again. If they release, even if it's an ongoing of a parallel universe where they outright will say with different costumes, they're like, this is not the main universe. If sales beat Amazing, it makes them look bad, I think, in their eyes. That's why they don't want to pull the trigger on it.
Again, it's all hearsay. It's all speculation.
Right now, that's just my personal opinion of why I think it is. John, I'm sure you have a different opinion why they wouldn't want to do it ongoing or why they're not. But that's just the way I look at it. Like I think it is. I think it's if we do this and this outsells Amazing, it makes us all look like the biggest idiots in the world.
I personally don't have an opinion one way or the other. It's just an ongoing is something I would like. I would buy. I mean, I'll admit, I'd buy the book. I really, really would.
Where's my wallet?
Okay, James.
I got debit cards. I got cash. Marvel, just take my wallet. Marvel, that's what I'm saying. Take it right now if you're going to do that ongoing.
Yeah, I mean, I would enjoy a Renew Your Vows universe ongoing. I really would. I enjoyed this 5-issue series. Just to give a frame of reference, I actually tweeted Slot on Twitter. I said, I really enjoyed the final issue. Thanks for all your work on this series. And he actually acknowledged it. He said thanks. So thanks, Slot. I appreciate the acknowledgement. I appreciate the response. So yeah, if anyone who doesn't believe that can go on our Twitter account. We found that I actually did do that at Spidey Fanrave if you're looking for it. But yeah, so I overall enjoyed Renew Your Vows. I thought it was a solid arc. I thought it was a great series, and I give it a thumbs up overall as well. I very much enjoyed it. But moving on to some more Marvel Universe news now that we've got some. Hey James, who's going to hit the jackpot in a couple of months here?
Me, with all the money I'm going to save from an Iron Man title, I'm not going to be picking up now.
I just want to set this up, all right? I really want to set this up. James, we have a little group chat on Skype between me, James, and Jan, who's not here. We have this little group chat All he texts into the group chat is "get ready for a rant," and then he puts a link to Ranger Board, which is a popular Power Rangers message board, and they have an off-topic thread where those Power Rangers fans like James talk about comic books. He links to this post that he wrote on Ranger Board about this. I feel like I should ship Marvel some aloe vera because James burned them that bad. Oh my gosh. Like, just if anyone has not, just go on Ranger Board, look up Power Packers 90. You will find James' post of this. James was not pleased.
Oh, God. Because I said this months ago. I don't know if I said this on air on the podcast or before the chat with us all when we talked after the show, and maybe Jan or somebody said, hey, did you hear about the rumor about MJ? I said I would drop Iron Man, and if it wasn't for this podcast, I would drop Amazing. And that's the point I'm at. It's like literally, if it wasn't for the show, Amazing's off my list. It just boggles my mind after Renew Your Vows. You go from that to MJ being in Iron Man's book, and I'm not mad at Bendis because Bendis wants to write MJ. He already said, I wanted to use her, nobody else is going to use her, so I'm using her. I have no shit at Bendis for that. My problem comes from Marvel, that after doing this as basically your ongoing Amazing Spider-Man book during Secret Wars, you had zero plans for Mary Jane. The flagship, one of your flagship characters in the book that was one of your flagship books. You had zero plans for her. And it's been said before by Dan Slott that, well, we do have plans for her. We want to use her for more, but we can't because Marvel won't let us pull that trigger. And if we at least have her as a friend, it kind of hurts the other characters because they just want him and her together. So we can't have her in the book. We have to put her somewhere else because we can't put them two together, and the fans won't accept anybody else but her if she's in the book. And it just irritates me. Well, did you hear what you just said? The fans really want this character with this other character, and you had it before, and it worked gangbusters in movies and cartoons and other comics over the years, and you won't pull the trigger on it. What? And I'll say this right now. I think I said this on Ranger Board also. Bendis wants to write MJ. He said I couldn't use her. I mean, they had no plan for her, so I'm using her here. Bendis is also writing an ongoing Amazing 616, and she's not in it. I mean, my personal opinion is he immediately said, I'm going to use MJ then in Miles' book, and then they said no, and he said, fine, I'll put her in Iron Man. Okay. Because if he's writing an ongoing main continuity Spider-Man book, and he wanted to use MJ, I think his first goal would have been to put her in that book. The Miles book.
To give context, because I'm not actually sure if we've completely detailed what we're talking about here. Yesterday, it was announced on Marvel.com that Mary Jane is obviously going to be put into Iron Man's book, Invincible Iron Man, written by Brian Bendis and with art by David Marquez. She's going to be put in there as a supporting character, and David Marquez actually drew a cover to Invincible Iron Man number 4 with her basically in her classic ASM 40 Iron Man mask, or not really an Iron Man mask, but an Iron Man faceplate in her right hand, or actually her left hand, excuse me. But she's going to show up there, and Bendis says that she's going to show up in an unexpected role. Now, a lot of people are jumping on the whole train of MJ and Tony are going to start doing it. James, what do you think of that approach?
I'm not going to touch the whole doing it because I don't want to have that image in my head. But the way it sounds, to use a wrestling term, it's going to be a slow burn. It's going to be a hard-to-get thing where he's going to have to win her over. And if they do that, it just irks me. Like, their whole point is the new redheaded girl who they're going to introduce as a possible love interest can keep up with Tony in an intellectual level. And in that cover of her, she has a Stark employee ID. How does she go from being on TV with her show or whatever the fuck it was and owning that nightclub to working at Stark Tower?
I'm assuming that James has expressed his James has expressed his rather disdain for this topic.
Like, there was other people on other forums that have said this too. There is no way, after the events of Civil War and all the shit that went down, how because of Tony and his bright idea of getting Peter to unmask, not only was Peter's aunt shot, but nearly her aunt was killed too. how she had an abusive alcoholic father. Tony, I won't say he's abusive unless you're a supervillain, but he was an alcoholic. MJ, who at the end of Superior Spider-Man said she didn't want nothing to do with superheroes and live a normal life, hence why she was dating Ollie. There's no way she would be with Tony.
I'll give my general thoughts on this. Anyone who's been on CBR in the past 48 hours probably knows this already. I don't this, to be honest. It's because, and here's the thing, it's like, I don't want her and Tony to be together, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. Bendis is bent over backwards to say that she's going to be in an unexpected role. This is not, whatever you think is going to happen, that's not what's going to happen. I feel like her and Tony hooking up is too obvious. I feel like it's just too obvious. Now, flash forward 3 or 4 months from now, and they're in bed together, and I'm going to have to eat shit. But yeah, I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that, and really, I don't have a massive problem with Mary Jane being in Iron Man's book. I don't really mind the idea of different characters going to different parts of the Marvel Universe, because there was a post on the message board on the topic on CBR. I forget the poster's name. I'm sorry, but I did acknowledge him. He said that he thinks that is one of the glories of having a shared universe, is that characters can go, different characters can interact with each other, and different supporting characters can interact with other characters. I think that's on the mark. I tend to agree with that statement, that I don't really mind Mary Jane going over and interacting with Tony Stark. What kind of interactions they have, we'll just have to wait and see on it. I'm pretty neutral towards it right now, leaning towards positive. I don't think the idea in itself is bad, putting MJ in Iron Man's book. What they do with it, I'll see if I like it or not. I would not be a fan of Mary Jane hooking up with Tony Stark. I would not be a fan of that. But since we don't know that that's the official direction they're going right now, I'm not going to be that quick to jump on it. I don't think it's as big of a deal as a lot of – I don't think this news is as big of a deal as like 99% of the internet is making it out to be.
The one thing I just realized that they'll probably do, either I don't know if it's in one of the pages of the Avengers books, because Peter's still a member of one Avenger team, isn't he? He is on the Uncanny, isn't it?
Yeah, he's on the Uncanny Avengers.
And Miles is on the main team with Tony. How much you want to bet that either in Amazing or Avengers, one of the Avenger books, or Iron Man, there's going to be a moment where Peter's going to swing into Avengers Tower and then see MJ and go, MJ! And she'll go, Spider-Man! Like, they're going to play that off to Peter, how awkward it is.
No, someone said that once again on CBR. Someone said that, and they said that that's going to happen right when Civil War, the movie, comes out. They said that they're going to time that perfectly. And I actually think they're right on that. I think that is going to happen.
It just can, like, one thing that our person brought up confusing, because especially with the cinematic universe, Pepper Potts, even though in the comics she was kind of always set up by Stan Lee to be, the love interest, even though they never got anywhere really, I don't think, him and Pepper. I don't know. I've been just rereading those classic issues. I barely got through his main run when he was with Cap, in Tales of Suspense. Now I'm on his own solo ongoing. And as far as I know, him and Pepper never really, they might have hooked up, but they were never really an ongoing couple. But to fans of the cinematic universe, Pepper's his girlfriend. So you see that cover of that redheaded Stark Tower, fans, like some people are going to think it's Pepper. And then once you tell them it's Mary Jane and they're programmed from the Raimi movies of knowing she's Spider-Man girlfriend, they're going to be like, what the fuck is this too? So you can't even win the people that you're hoping to come over from the movies.
I don't know. I think maybe by putting Mary Jane in Iron Man's book, you can get a little bit of crossover between the fans. You can maybe get some Spider-Man fans to read Iron Man just out of curiosity. I don't know. Maybe that's just a business aspect of it that I can see.
I love that. I love that post where it's like, oh, Mary Jane's now going to date a billionaire businessman playboy who's going to sleep around with a lot of women and make money and design tech for his superhero alternate identity. What's Peter doing? That. Like somebody like posted that and they had and like it was like a meme photo of a guy looking like confused because like you say that. What's Tony's attributes? And you're like, MJ's going to date that guy. Well, what's going on with Peter? Well, those same things. And you're looking around like, then why
Genius billionaire playboy philanthropist.
I just don't like this. The thing I will say I'm kind of embarrassed of, the thing that really pissed me off the most was that Marvel, article about it. Because the first words you read are, after years of being Spider-Man's girlfriend, now she's getting the upgrade. Or she's getting an upgrade. And it's like, really? Tony's an upgrade from Peter, guys? I know he's your big cash cow now because of his movies in the cinematic universe. But he's an upgrade. Tony Stark. Not talking about Iron Man. We're talking Tony Stark is an upgrade from Peter Parker.
Yeah, okay.
I can agree with. But like I have said before on the podcast, Tony's my second favorite character because for everything that Peter is, Tony isn't, and everything Tony isn't, Peter is. They're polar opposites. That's why I like their relationship because up until Civil War, I always kind of felt like that mentor-teacher was a two-way street. Tony learned and got some stuff from Peter and Peter's personality just as much as Peter got from Tony, because that was how much they were different opposites. But yet you're saying that MJ being with Tony or being now an Avengers character or an Iron Man character is an upgrade from Amazing, which for decades she's been Spider-Man's girl or wife or whatever. That's what made me mad. It's like, no, it's not an upgrade. I know you're trying to be fun because of the Iron Man suits and how they constantly get upgraded, but come on, guys. You could have had a thing saying, Tony's dating a redhead, but it's not who you think it is. Like something like that. But saying that MJ, after 40 years of being Spider-Man's girlfriend, she's getting the upgrade. She's getting the ultimate upgrade. And it's like, well, thank you for bearing Peter.
I do agree. It's like, if she were to go with Steve Rogers, that's an upgrade. If she's going with Tony Stark, not really. As much as I love,
they kind of bury Peter. Like I said, it's like, oh, she dated Peter or married to him for all these years, but now she's upgrading to Tony Stark. Did we mention that Bruce said he's the new main guy who you should totally check out?
Yeah, Tom Brevoort has been very vocal about how Invincible Iron Man is very much Marvel's flagship title now. As much as forever
though. He's always said I think it's back during Iron Man 1 on the DVD special features when they go over, because with a lot of those Marvel movies, like the first DVD, they would always have like that documentary about the history of the comics character. And in the Iron Man one, he outright says, well, even though it might have seemed like in sales he was never the ongoing, but he was the mastermind behind S.H.I.E.L.D. He was behind the Avengers. During Civil War, that was mainly his storyline and his inner turmoil. And it was a little bit of Steve, and some people thought it was Peter, but that was a Tony Stark storyline. He's the main guy behind the Minority Universe. Bruce has always been about Tony being the main guy, so that has never changed. That's why I don't think I ever really got mad at him for that, like a lot of people, because he has always said that about Tony.
Yeah, Brevoort has come out and said that Iron Man's going to try to be their flagship title coming up here. I really can't. I'm not really that. As of right now, having not read it, and I do hopefully plan to pick up Invincible Iron Man because I do like Iron Man as a character. I really do.
I will pick up issue 1 because I am interested to see how Bendis will write an ongoing solo Iron Man, not just him in one of his Avenger titles. So I'm interested for issue 1. But if issue 4 of that comes out with MJ and it ends with them two making out, I'm done. I'm saying this right now. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm going to be picking up Invincible Iron Man because I do like Iron Man as a character. So I will be following what happens between him and Mary Jane. I don't really, I'm not really as inflamed about it as like 99% of the internet is. And
I'm not mad at Bendis. Bendis has always been a fan of the Mary Jane character, going back to Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1. He has always been a fan of MJ.
He does a great job with Ultimate Mary Jane.
And the Spider-Man titles weren't picking up, and I find it funny because he's on a Spider-Man book. So I think if Bendis was given the choice, writing her in Iron Man or in Miles's book, he would have picked Miles's book over Tony. but I think that they put the lock and chain on that. So he went to Iron Man, and they said, okay. Like, that's my personal opinion. Obviously, I wasn't there. But I just find it funny that he's writing a Spider-Man book, and he says they had no plan for her in the Spider-Man titles. So I think that meant that I pitched it. I want MJ to be in the Miles book. They vetoed it. So I said, can I put her in Iron Man? And they said, okay.
Yeah, I don't think this is as worth getting inflamed about as like 95% of the internet seems to. I'm not talking about James.
I was there when I read it. I'm more calmed down now because it's not until issue 4. And for all we know, it could be a big fool you moment where you think that she's going to kiss him, and then she said, gotcha, and she pushes him down or something like that.
Yeah.
And she brings up the point, hey, I was living with Peter Parker during Civil War. I saw what happened. And I said then I would never get with a guy like you, so leave me alone. And then for the rest of the time, it's just like she works there for whatever reason, and a supervillain flies into the office on her or something like that.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not talking about James. I'm just like, the internet blew up about this. Like, there were some not nice comments said about this.
Oh man, go on Ranger Board. You want to read some flames? Oh, I was being Johnny Storm. I was shooting out some big old flames at Marvel.
Yeah, I'll admit that was humorous.
And I'll say this right now: some of the people on Ranger Board who were being nice to me about defending it, I can agree with you. But for the people that were being dicks to me about it by saying I'm just some overreacting Spider-Man fan, and like I pointed out, this is post One More Day Marvel writing Mary Jane. I have not trusted them. I have reasons not to trust them with her. I'm sorry. But after the last, 8 years, they made my favorite character into the point that I'm almost happy if I don't see her in a book now. Because at least she's not screwing Tony if that ends up being what happens. I would have rather he would have not touched her.
All right, but I'm neutral towards it now, leaning on positive. James is clearly negative, but that's real.
I'm neutral, but I'm definitely 1 foot into negative.
All right, but that's going to do it for this news topic. That's also going to do it for this episode of the podcast. We don't really have anything else to talk about this week. We just wanted to get our Renew Your Vows stuff done, and really that news came out 48 hours ago, and there's no way we couldn't talk about that. There's absolutely no way we couldn't.
I would have made John talk about it if John said, no, we're doing classic issues. We're doing issue 72 of Spectacular Spider-Man 250, and I would have said, fuck you, we're doing this. I'm telling you this right now. There was no way I wasn't going to get this rant out.
I knew that he was going to get. I knew he was going to talk
better
about
than some of my rants. This is a lot better than my Carly Cooper one last week.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm entertained by James's rants. We should make that a new segment. What pissed James off this week?
Well, it's the sad thing is because there's some Spider-Man websites and podcasts that's all negative. And me and John like to joke that we're the anti that. We're not all negative. And then I watch myself on this show, and I'm like, I think I'm on the wrong team here.
There are some times where I just look at myself and I'm just like, yeah, you probably could have worded that better. Like, to be honest, I will give a little bit behind the scenes here. I cannot.
Carly deserved that fuck you yesterday. That fuck you moment when I told her to go fuck herself. She deserved that. She forced the guy the issue before to be in a relationship with her. She blackmailed Peter Parker, Mr. Guilt Trip, into dating her because she would know it'd be all his fault that she would no-show their friend's going away party to the freaking Witness Protection Agency because his father could kill him and his child at any minute. But he's down on his luck because he just got kicked out of his apartment unfairly, and she wouldn't let him crash on her couch because they weren't there yet. You got to admit that if you were dating a girl and she did that, wouldn't you say, okay, stay, you stuck-up bitch, and leave her? Wouldn't you do that, John? Wouldn't you say that's over, I'm done, and walk away? Because I would. If I was Peter, I would say, yeah, fine, I won't let me sleep on your couch. Well, you cannot think about sleeping with me at all. We're done, and walk away.
Oh, maybe someday on this podcast I'll express some of the interesting encounters I've had with the opposite sex. But
okay, John. Just saying right now, for argument's sake, if you were Peter there, and after all the emotional baggage and crap that went on the issue before, and this is recently, it's like maybe a few weeks or something, or posts from each other, you lose your place, you go to your girlfriend, just to crash on her couch until you can find a new place, not to mooch off her and stay there for forever,
Probably, yeah.
There you go.
I was just going to say, like, sometimes when I watch this podcast, I'm just like, wow, I sound like a complete moron. I can't stand the sound of my own voice most of the time.
You would have said, yes, I would have took that. I'm just saying that right now. You would sound so whipped. Like, oh, yeah, I would take that. What?
No, I would not take that. I would have said, yeah, you know, we're done. Why don't you go bird watching? For anyone,
Attack 2 of the Green Goblin, even though an old issue of a one-shot said that you and Gwen Stacy were such good friends as child. Yeah, go do that, Carly.
Yeah, for anyone who's listening on iTunes, when I say bird watching, I'm flipping my middle finger at the camera.
John's pulling a me. That's all you got to say.
Yep, I'm pulling a James. All right, James, what shout-outs do you have for this week?
Shout out is to Annie Parker. You will be missed because Marvel, I don't think, will ever touch you again in any book. You'll never be referenced again, and it sucks. So I apologize on behalf of the fans that all you're going to be remembered for is that redheaded girl in the One More Day fantasy, some people think. But real shout outs goes to my school because I got my uniform. I got everything for culinary. I'm so excited for school. Shout out to the Packers. Let's kill the Bears this week. Shout out to Dr. Pepper. I don't know. Shout out to the word chamber pot. Because for people who don't know, the translation to lasagna is chamber pot. And because of culinary school, I found that out this week. Literally, the English translation for lasagna is chamber pot. When you think chamber pot, do you think lasagna?
When I think chamber pot, I think of like some like witch in her cave making some evil potion,
or like a pot, you know, like where you're like of just food thrown together for a dungeon or a jail cell.
That's a weird term. Anyway, but my shout-outs this week, Marvel, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Dan Slott, Adam Kubert, all of them. Thank you for Spider-Man in general. My next shout-out, I'll give another shout-out to my dog. I scared her with a trumpet. I felt so bad. Shout
out to Drizzle. I didn't scare her, but still, John's going to shout out his dog. I felt like an asshole, so shout out to Drizzle.
I got to give – what other shout-outs do I have to give this week? I want to give a shout-out to Chris Evans, who plays Captain America. He gave an interview recently that said he's willing to come back after Avengers Infinity War. He's willing to He's willing to sign another contract with Marvel. Please, for the love of gosh, please, Marvel, re-sign him. Just give him another contract, please.
The only way I could see them doing the whole recasting thing is obviously the Marvel Universe is too big and too popular right now to reboot. But I think it's going to get to the point where you're going to, because obviously being based on comic books, the characters are not going to have to age too much. You're going to end up with like a James Bond scenario where they're just going to recast and recast and recast.
Yeah, please don't get rid of Chris. Wow, my hair looks bad. Please don't get rid of Chris Evans. Don't let him go that easily. I love him as Captain America. So, yeah, shout out to Chris Evans. Let's hope you come back after Infinity War. Yeah, that's pretty much my only shout out that's all my shout outs this week. We thank you all for tuning in. We apologize for any technical difficulties that we may have had during this episode. My internet may be a little bit faulty because we're having a rainstorm outside. It's literally rained nonstop for the past 24 hours.
You're getting the rain that we literally just ended with.
Yeah, probably. Apparently it's raining like all over Ohio and then like all over Pennsylvania and New York and everything. So yeah, it's been quite a wet day here. That's why I stayed inside today. I was not going to go out in it. But other than that, yeah, we thank you guys for tuning in and hope to see you next week. So see you all later, guys. Thanks for tuning in.